All right. Welcome to a very, very special edition of Bitfinex Talks. We're streaming live from the Plan B Forum El Salvador, and it's my pleasure to welcome Paulo Arduino to the show for my very first interview to kick off the live stream. Paulo, how are you today?
I'm great, thank you for having me, and I'm very excited for this Plan B Forum event. I think it's going to be a success. I see a ton of people around, so I'm very proud.
So, Paulo, Plan B has been an ongoing conference in Europe, one of the best conferences in Europe. Why did you guys decide to expand to El Salvador for the first time this year?
Well, first of all, El Salvador is the country to be in this moment. It's very safe, it's secure, will focus over the next years on prosperity. I wish I could say the same thing. First of all, Plan B Forum was born in Switzerland. That actually is a very safe and prosperous country. I cannot say the same thing for the rest of Europe. I'm European, I'm Italian, I was born Italian. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same thing for my own country and the rest, almost the rest of Europe. Here in Latin America, starting from El Salvador, I see a change. I see a much better outlook for the future. I see people smiling, willing to build, to innovate. They have the real energy to try something new. The country is safe. The president is great. The entire administration listening to innovators. Bitcoin was made legal tender. There is Bitcoin education. Everyone is really focused from the people in the streets to the government, to the administration, to the educators. They want to make El Salvador the biggest story. They want to make El Salvador the living proof that an administration and a president that really deeply care about their own people can change things. I mean, I was always disappointed by politicians.
Okay.
But seeing Bukele made me hopeful again.
I would agree with that. Bukele has kind of been the pioneer as like the first Bitcoin president, but we've seen the tide kind of change recently with the U.S. administration electing Trump and him voicing that he wants to be a pro-crypto president as well. Do you feel that with this like changing tide and attitude that like the crypto industry is now like primed to really explode?
Well, we'll see. Definitely, it's important to see the U.S. making these moves because the US is still the most important and powerful country in the world, so every single regulator was waiting for US to take a decision, yes or no on crypto. And now since it's clear that it's a yes, then every other regulator around the world, every other country would feel more comfortable in being more open to crypto as a technology. Hopefully good regulations will make sure that the public is not thrown into the mud with all the possible crypto scams.
Yeah.
But I think it's very important to urge the US administration to focus on Bitcoin and on stable coins and really forget about the rest. Maybe forgetting about the rest is a bit too harsh, but still make a clear distinction between the different things. I mean, there is Bitcoin, there is everything else.
Yeah.
Stable coins, I consider them digital dollars, digital money. I don't even consider USDT crypto anymore. To me, it's just digital dollar is a different way to move dollars on a different transport layer. Usually we have PayPal, Zelle, Cash App, centralized. USDT is using the decentralized transport layer, but it's still the same dollar, right? So there is Bitcoin, stable coins, and everything else. And that has to be made clear, maybe.
Yeah, I think that needs to be made clear for sure. How many times have you been to El Salvador now?
So now I have been in El Salvador 4 times.
4 times?
But now, being a resident and a citizen, I will definitely increase my time here because also it's a beautiful country. The weather is just incredible. The only remark that I have to make is that and there is such a beautiful weather, but they use too much air conditioning inside. I mean, this is the best weather to be in.
Yeah. And how have you seen like the Bitcoin like scene here in El Salvador like grow and change like over the 4 times that you've come to the country to visit?
Look, and this is what I said the first time I had my first interview here in El Salvador. The main question was, what do you think about Bitcoin adoption in El Salvador? And we repeat the same thing I said at that time. It's unfair to pretend that El Salvador will adopt Bitcoin, or any country would adopt Bitcoin faster than Switzerland adopting credit cards and debit cards. It took 20 years for people in Europe to be comfortable with using credit cards and debit cards. And those were pushed down the throat of everyone by financial institutions.
Yeah.
Now, Bitcoin, it's just 2 years that Bitcoin started to be accepted, and we should be fair and let people educate themselves. We are helping that educational process, but we should give the time to the people to start trusting Bitcoin, and trust can only come with knowledge, with education. So I'm not worried at all about the pace of adoption, just because we'll be slow until we'll be very fast. We'll ramp up already very fast.
Okay. And what plans do you have laid out for Bitfinex's presence in El Salvador in the coming years?
Bitfinex, in my opinion, will become the first important capital markets company here in El Salvador. To me, the way I see Bitfinex and Bitfinex Securities, they are kind of almost merging a lot, because Bitfinex will focus more and more on Bitcoin first products, and the Bitfinex Securities is the way to carry on the mission of Bitfinex, that is disintermediation between people and having access to markets, and good markets. Usually in traditional finance you have 10 different actors in the middle of every single thing you do, and I think is what Bitcoin taught us, is that everything can work with reducing all these intermediaries almost to zero. So with Bitfinex Securities, we want to put the people in front of good companies and have them to be connected directly with a proper license, with proper regulations, with the proper oversight from the local regulator. So replicating the environment, the safety environment that people need to operate, rightfully so, but at the same time without making with creating opportunities for companies that are born in emerging markets to have access to good capital and a good audience. So to me, that is the most important job of Bitfinex here, is actually to prove that also the capital markets industry can be completely revolutionized. And I think that El Salvador has the chance to become the center of finance of all Central and South America, of all Latin America.
Yeah, kind of like a Singapore or something like that. A question I have for you is the next bridge capital raise that Bitfinex Securities just led was very, very successful. Is that kind of like a glimpse at the kind of things that are to come in the future for Bitfinex Securities?
I think yes, it's a good example that if you have good products and if you do educate, and people need to get familiar with that. The sky is limitless. Definitely Bitfinex had more crypto crowd, so they are now getting more and more familiar with also other options. As I said, for El Salvador, good things take time. So adoption also between securities and this openness to the new capital markets will take time. But look, we waited 10 years for Bitcoin to be accepted by the traditional financial system, which happened in 2024 with the Bitcoin ETF. So I think more and more projects will see the success stories from, more and more companies will see the success stories from in Bitfinex Securities, and also them will be comfortable to start opening themselves to these new opportunities and to this to the new audience that, by the way, is very rich. As we have huge whales on Bitfinex that are very interested also to look at other things apart Bitcoin only.
Do you feel like it's a tough sell to take primarily crypto traders that trade in all sorts of different like tokens with wild volatility and stuff like that. Do you think it's hard to convince them to take a look at tokenized securities like in a serious way?
It's not an hard sell for Bitcoiners. I think Bitcoiners are already looking at these opportunities. Who likes trading high volatile assets, like all the meme coins and so on? That is a crowd that is basically gambling. But that is something that we are really removing from Bitfinex anyway. So the crowd on Bitfinex, I think, is perfectly suited to be part of this new era of the capital markets.
That's super exciting. I need to ask you also, in your dual role as the CEO of Tether, like Tether just moved here to El Salvador. Is there anything exciting you can tell us about why you made the move to El Salvador as like the base of operations?
And Bitfinex derivatives too.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So everything that we have is moving to El Salvador, one way or the other. Look, it's I think when you find a place like this with an administration that is so proactive, is so smart, I think it's important to also demonstrate our commitment, right? So you see many companies pretending things from governments but never giving anything back. So we never pretended anything, but if we see change, if we see positive change, I think it's important to show that we believe in that change and we support that change. So the physical presence is, I think, the biggest testament we could give, both from the Tether side and the Bitfinex side, to a government that is doing very good.
Bukele, part of his program is like to incentivize like tech companies to come here. We saw Google come here. You mentioned Bitfinex Securities is here. Tether's here. Has there been an influx of like other tech companies that have set up shop here in El Salvador?
I'm talking to many that are very interested to come here. And look, the story of Google is great, but they put a logo on a tower. We are going to build a tower, and we are going to hire a lot of people here. So it's going to be quite different, the impact the positive impact that we can have on society.
That's amazing. I want to change gears here, but another thing that Bitfinex really focuses here in El Salvador is education and providing Bitcoin education, financial education. Like, what educational efforts do you think Bitfinex is going to be spearheading this coming year?
So we need to keep, if we move here, we need to be able to hire here. So education will be key. There is the Plan B network, there is Cubo Plus, there is there are so many other projects. We need to keep investing in that, right? So for us is if we want to find a fertile ground and keep making sure that El Salvador doubles down on the importance of Bitcoin, we need to come here ready to invest, not just to buy a couple of things and again put in logo, but is actually taking, the long-term approach. Education is not something you can do in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years. You have to create a new generation of people that understand the technology and understand the potential that this technology can bring to their country. So, we are here for the long term, and we are prepared for that.
There's educational efforts like Cubo Plus and Torgostev that are doing like highly technical training for developers, and then there's also other efforts like Mi Primer Bitcoin that are doing like basic Bitcoin education and basic financial education for the masses. Which one do you think is more important, like, in order for Bitcoin to succeed here?
I would say everything. Like, it's not a matter. So every problem, every single thing has to be tackled from every single side. Like, success can only be achieved if you are very an integral part of the territory.
Okay. And another question that I wanted to ask you is, do you have any exciting announcements that you plan to make here at the Plan B conference?
Yes, but I cannot spoiler them.
All right. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close out the interview?
I would say come here, enjoy the conference, but especially enjoy the country. Go out to the beach, go to the volcano, go to the lakes, eat pupusas, eat everything. Like every single time I come here, I see, and I come every just couple of months, I see change. It's crazy how even 2-3 months are enough to really see the change in the streets, in the population, in the companies that are here. So I think it's one of the best experiences that you can have. I think it's an opportunity that comes only once in a lifetime. So I really suggest everyone to come and experience it.
Yeah, I would say I've seen a huge amount of change since I was here last year. Just with the amount of like growth in the city, and then also just like investment from companies coming in.
Game changer.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Paolo.
Thank you, Ricardo, for having me.
Yeah. I'll see you later.
Enjoy the conference, and we'll see each other around.
All right.